What is up, guys? My name is Mike. Most of you will know of me as Onslaught. That is my Xbox Live gamer tag. Welcome to part 3, the grand finale of field stripping video. Basically, this is a set of tutorials that I've been doing going over how I edit my gameplay videos. Part 3 here is going to cover using Adobe Photoshop to build a frame for your video, do overlays, and then my final render settings. So if you haven't seen part 1 and part 2, I would suggest checking those out before you actually watch this part. So I hope you guys enjoy, and let's get into it. Alright, so if you remember in part 2 at the end, this is kind of where we ended up. I had just created, let me go ahead and hit play here. I had just created the effect of the overlay video right there, bam, sliding into view and then sliding out. And now we're at the point, we're going to build a frame for our normal gameplay, and then we're going to do some overlays over this portion of the gameplay. So to do that, we're going to use Adobe Photoshop. File, we're going to open up a brand new file. There is a preset that you can use called film and video, and if you use the 720p version, the HDV HDTV guy, it sets your resolution to 1280 by 720 with a 720 resolution. So make sure you set your background contents to transparent. That is critical, okay? For doing overlays and things like that, we're going to be saving these files as PNG files because they hold their transparent information, and you definitely need a transparent background. So let's go ahead and turn on our grids. I do that by hitting Control : I don't know where the actual view maybe. Show guides, that's what we want to show. So turn on your guides, and this is just what I like to typically do. There are thousands of different ways you can approach building a frame for some type of video like this, but I just use a simple fill command, and I'll show you guys, or a paint bucket tool. Right now I'm just selecting these grids and dragging the grid guidelines there to the end. I'm going to give us about a let's give us about a 30 pixel frame. So I'm paying attention to my marks up here, and if you hold shift while you're moving this, it'll automatically snap to these grid lines, so it makes it really easy. 10, 20, 30, and let's get this guy down. 10, 20, 30 right there. Alright, so now that we have that done, let's go ahead and create a new layer just so we have that bottom layer there that we can use if we need to in the future. What color do we want our frame to be? Let's make it some type of green. We'll do to celebrate some Christmas here. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to use our rectangular marquee tool, and because we created these guides, notice how it's snapping. I don't know if you guys see how it's snapping to our guides. That's the purpose that we're using these things for. That's why we created them. So I'm holding down the shift key, and you can select multiple areas here in the project. So now we're just going to use our fill command. Make sure we're on that second layer there, and there we go. We'll actually just call this guy, let's just call him frame, just for frame. Alright, there we go. Alright, so now there is our frame. Let's go ahead and file, save as. This is critical. Save this as a PNG file. Alright, and we're going to save them just to our tutorial folder that we're using for this project. Interlace none, that is fine. And let's look at what we did here. So if we go to that folder, not there. Let's go to, where am I? Documents. No. Dude, I'm totally lost on my own computer right now. Here we go. Gamer. Gameplay 100 tutorial. There we go. Alright, let's bring the frame in. I just opened it. I'm an idiot. What am I doing? Alright, let's go back. This is a fail so hard. Alright, so if we drag and drop our frame file that we just created, there he is. You can see he's in here now. So now we just drag him into our timeline. Remember how the layering system works. This guy needs to be above everything that you want him to show up above. So we need to drag. So I just click him, and I'm going to drag him up here to the top. And there is our overlay frame. We want him to go through, like the extent of the video. But that's, that's pretty plain. Let's go over a couple different things we can do to just kind of liven this guy up a little bit. We can add a little area here for, let me go here. we can add a little thing here to add some text. We can, you know, you can do anything. If you wanted a little information kind of bar here, you could do that if you wanted to. So let's go ahead and just add some text in here. Some white text tool. So we can just call this frame, if I can spell, test, and we're just going to transform. That's just Control T, or if you go to edit, you can go to transform there. So we'll call this guy frame test here. Just set him down in this corner. We can add some more text here. So you want to say Merry Christmas there, and we're going to rotate him, and stretch him out, and we'll just leave it just like that. All right, so that's just an example of, you know, just take those kind of concepts, and you can add a little life to this thing. A few other things that I like to do using blending options. If you go to your frame layer, right click it, go to blending options. I always like to throw a drop shadow on it. What that's going to do is it's going to make the frame look like it has some depth to it above the actual video. You can actually adjust these settings here if you want it to be more pronounced. Another thing that I like to do, let me turn off these guides because they may be, all right, see that dark kind of shadow it casts there. Let's go back into blending options and do a couple more things. Another thing I like to do is blending options, bevel and emboss, and that creates some kind of highlights and the dark, kind of super dark areas around the frame. And once again, you can adjust your settings and you make it more pronounced, less pronounced. There's just tons of different customization you can do for that. The last thing I like to do is add a pattern overlay. Basically, this is going to add a little texture to the frame, but always make sure that if we select pattern overlay, make sure it's set to multiply so you know that your color comes through. And let's select just kind of a bullet. No, we don't want to use that. Don't want to use that. I just want just like a rough kind of, I mean, it really doesn't matter. We'll go ahead and use that guy, and then you can let's go back into that. Actually, if we double click it, you can adjust the scale of it by sliding this guy along. So I want it pretty small there. All right, so there is our frame. Let's do a little blending option to our text too. Right click, blending options. We're going to do an inner shadow, and that kind of makes it look like it's kind of stamped into the frame there. Let's make the size a little bit smaller. Well, I think 3 pixels is just right. All right, there we go. So you can still read the text, and it just gives it a little depth and a little authenticity to it. Our Merry Christmas guy there, we'll just leave him as a normal thing. You guys get the idea. So the really cool thing about this is that once you've created this, and we're going to go back and save over that original frame that we created. So save, yes, we want to replace it, none, interlaced. That's going to update in our Sony Vegas file in real time. So check that out. All we do is come back into the file here, and it automatically updates. So you can see our frame there and how he's working. Make sure whenever you bring this in, make sure your compositioning mode here is set to source alpha. That is important. If you have it set to something else, it's going to start doing crazy stuff. Like, watch what overlay does. Look at that. Crazy, I know. But if you want it to be a little more professional, keep it on source alpha, and it'll just bring in exactly what you created. You do the same thing if you want a frame to kind of slide in with your video here. You create it the same way that we just created our overall frame here. And you sync it up. Remember in part 2 where I showed you guys the keyframing of making this guy slide in. You use those same techniques to, and you just apply them to the frame. So that's how you would go about doing that. So let's go ahead and jump into our overlays and finish this guy out. So what we need to do now is take another screen capture of our video here to begin drawing out our overlays. So just find any spot in your overlay that you're going to be detailing. Save snapshot to file. We're going to save them as aerial, and we're just going to save them in that tutorial folder. So now if we go back into Photoshop, let's still work in the same file. We'll turn off everything that we've been working with here, And let's open up the aerial. So that is basically bringing in the JPEG that we created. The only problem with this is that it doesn't have a transparent background. Okay, so what we need to do, we just need to Control-Alt and Control-C. Those are the commands that I'm hitting on the keyboard. And that just copied this background, or copied this image. So if we just close this out, Control-V, or you can edit paste, we'll paste that guy back into here. So now you can see we have the transparent background, and that is critical when creating the overlays. So first thing we want to do here is we just want to kind of highlight this middle area, because I want to talk about using it and how I go about using it in the video. So there, I'm just going to do a quick, this is using the polygonal lasso tool, whatever way you feel like selecting things. I mean, it's your personal preference, and I'm just going to do a really crude kind of quick selection here, because you guys don't need any information on this. You guys just want to get the basics down, Alright, so almost done here. Ta-da. Alright, so there he is. Now we want to create a new layer, and we are going to fill this guy using our paint bucket tool with just make him red. That's fine. So there he is. Now you want this guy to have, you want to be able to see the information that's below the red here. So we want to set our opacity on this guy. So if we just select in there, we can type him, make him 50%. Okay, so and typically what I like to do right now, it kind of looks kind of flat, just kind of standard. I like to add some blending options to it as well. So we'll just add a little drop shadow. It adds just a little depth there at the edges, and we can do a bevel and emboss also, and it adds some highlights and once again some darker areas. You can add inner glows, outer glows. You can do any of this stuff. Just play around with it and just find a series of settings that really makes the overlay pop and really gets your point across. So that's our overlay there, and we want one other overlay that's going to be a couple arrows. So let's go ahead and turn that off because we don't need him at the moment. I'm going to use the shape tool here to do this. You can build arrows a couple different ways, and but I'm just going to go over this one way here. So we're going to want a green arrow. So let's go ahead and change our color here to green. And I'm going to go ahead and drag this guy out. Now, I'm holding shift right now as I'm bringing this shape in. If you don't hold shift, you can see it distorts the proportion. So I'm holding shift, and that right there is about good. Now, what I want to do here, though, I don't want this curve at the moment. So I'm going to right-click this guy. I'm going to rasterize him. So it's going to make, where is rasterize layer, and I want to, because if he's still a shapefile, you can't go in here and delete portions of this layer. So I deleted all that. Now I want to extend this piece of the arrow. So I'm going to do that by just holding down Alt and Shift while I have that selected, and you can see there it's just copying and moving another portion of that arrow. So I'm going to use the transform tool, Control T, or edit transform, and we're going to just angle him right towards the that center container. Now we need one other arrow, and this is actually why I chose to use this format for creating my arrows, because they have a good curved arrow here that I'm going to use. So once again, I'm going to bring him in. I want him just about the same size as that one. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it, nothing, no real science to it. What we want to do now, once again, is we want to rasterize this layer, so because we're going to be chopping off a portion here, and we also want to, if you hit Control T, we want to flip him around, and you guys will see why here in a second. Alright, so what I do now is I want these arrows to look like, they're one and the same. So I'm going to move him up to about right there, and I'm going to use my lasso tool again here and just delete off that portion of this new curved guy we brought in. So right about there is good. Now what we want to do is we want to merge these two arrows together because we want them to be on the same layer. So we turn off our background, turn off that layer 1, edit layer, layers, merge visible. You can also do that by hitting Shift Control E, and there are arrows, nice and easy. So now we have our two. We want to do the same thing that we did for this guy as far as settings and transparency. We're going to go ahead and do that to our arrows here. So 50% transparency. Go to our blending options. We want to add a drop shadow and add a bevel and emboss as well. And now we have our two overlays. So let's get this done. Let's finish up. Let's bring in save our two overlays, and we'll bring them into Photoshop. So turn off everything except the overlay. Okay, and you have to do this individually for the two different overlays. File, save as, PNG. We'll just save it as 01 for overlay 1. Interlace none. And we're going to do the same thing for our arrows. File, save as, PNG, overlay 2. 02. There we go. Saved. All right. So now let's bring these guys into Sony Vegas. All right. Drag that up. Open up this. So here are our two files that we just created, 01 and 02. We're just going to drag and drop them into our project media. 01, we're going to go ahead and drag him into our timeline here. And once again, you know, we need to pull him up here above this layer. So there he is. You can see what, let me go ahead and minimize some of these so we can bump this up so you guys can actually see kind of what's going on. There we go. All right, so first thing you want to do is when you're starting off this first overlay, make sure see how he's in play right now, even though our video isn't, because we're doing the slide command. Let's go ahead and make sure he doesn't start until the overlay is all the way in, or until the video is already set. All right, now what we want to do is we want to add, because I don't like, you know, just a hard color popping into the screen, we're just going to add a additive dissolve transition here right to the beginning. And you guys will see how it just makes that red kind of fade in, nice and easy, nice and soft. So there is the first overlay we want to use. We'll make him go about halfway there, and go back to our project media, and we're going to bring in 02, which is our second overlay. Drag him right into line here, and if you make these guys overlap, they will do like a fade in and fade out transition. So watch what happens here. So as I get into this, notice how the green arrows there are kind of fading in and the red is fading out, just like that. And we're going to drag this guy close to the end, not all the way, and then we're going to add that same transition effect that we added to the beginning of the red. We're going to drag and drop him here at the end of green, and there we go. So this is what the end product will kind of look like. So I'll go ahead and render out this kind of this video, and so you guys can see, you know, what the final product really looks like here. But this is it. This is how I do my overlays, how I do my frames, how I do my videos, and all that stuff. I'm going to show you guys the rendering settings here, and we'll finish this little series up. All right, so there we go. I'm going to go ahead and save this because I do not want to lose everything I've done. Final render settings, file, render as. Here we go. I render as a Windows Media Video right here, version 11, and I'll show you guys. Here's what I render as. Okay, for my audio, I use CBR format, Windows 10 Professional, 256 kilobytes. Video, CBR, it's a constant bit rate. It keeps your file size small and gives you a good quality at the same time. Format is Windows Media Video 9. High definition, you know, 1280 by 720. But when I do Call of Duty videos, it's always at 59.94. If you do Halo or any other, because Call of Duty is a 60 frames per second shooter, if you do a video for games such as Halo, you can go down to 30, and that's going to reduce your file size in the end because it's only a 30 frame per second game. Video smoothness, keep that at 100 there. Your bit rate here can be internet LAN and at 6 meg there, which will be fine. And that's basically it. And I would hit OK. You know, I don't want to render the loop region. I want to render the entire video. Turn off save, project media, and I would hit save as wherever I want to start rendering this guy out. So that's it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this quick little insight into my world of editing when it comes to a field stripping video. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and post up any questions below, and I'll catch up with you guys later. See you on Xbox Live. Later, guys. Whoa, I am back. I forgot one really important thing, actually, and it has to do with my track effects that I add to my videos. This is pretty important. This is what you do to kind of polish out your final videos, and I do this for videos, you know, outside of just the field stripping video. It's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. There's two ways you can add track effects. You can add it to individual clips by clicking the this little, I don't know, it's like a little puzzle piece looking thing here on each video, or you can go to the beginning of the timeline here, click on track effects, and this will add it to every single video that's in that line. So what I typically like to add are a color corrector, so we'll double click that guy, see, added him up there, and then a sharpen. Okay, double click that, adds that up there, and hit OK. Now we're going to adjust a couple settings here on both of these. Actually with sharpen, we're not going to adjust anything, keep it at 0. It just slightly sharpens up the video just enough. You actually don't need to increase that at all. If we select color corrector, go to, and I'll let you guys so you can kind of see, go to presets, go to studio RGB to computer RGB, and see how that just made some of the highlight, it just made the contrast a little more pronounced, I think, and it just makes you know, just a sharper looking video altogether. So now that I added that to the beginning of this timeline here, it added it to every clip along the way. So those are the typical track effects that I do, and I would do obviously the same thing here for the overlay clip that that actually slides in. So that's it, guys. Sorry I forgot about that earlier, but hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll catch up with you guys later. See you on Xbox Live again. Later, guys.
Spy plane standing by. Kill confirmed. SR-71. Ready for deployment.